Hello and welcome. I'm Patrick Curtis, your host and chief monkey, and this is the Wall Street Oasis podcast. Join me as I talk to some of the community's most successful and inspirational members to gain valuable insight into different career paths and life in general. Let's get to it. Another interesting chat with the WSO interns. If you're interested in applying to the internship, please check out the show notes. There's a link right there. Enjoy. Hey everybody, we got a big group today. Exciting to see. Happy June. Everyone's still kind of filtering in here. Hey Brandon. Hey Owen. Hey Lucas. Jana, Almat. I see some familiar names here. Mazin. Walta. Hi Manya. Let's see here. Smith. So I think we have, there's a lot of people coming. So this is, I think, going to be a record. I think because we're hitting the summer here in the States, I think we're going to have a record of attendees. I don't know what our, if there's a limit. I don't think there's a limit on this room, so that's good. Or it's like 1,000 people or something, so we're fine. Hi, Anja. Hey, Hania, Sohan, Ali. I think I said hi to a lot of people. Ellie, Reham. Okay, so let's get started. I think, so sorry about last week. I was in Disneyland with the 3 kids, so I wasn't able to make it. Had a little vacation over Memorial Day weekend, but I'm happy to be here. I think we've had a lot of new people start, so very excited to welcome all of you. And just like the previous weekly meetings, I'd like to open it up just by seeing if anybody has questions specifically about the internship first, and then we can, once those questions are answered, we can kind of jump to career-related questions, specifically around networking, interview performance, career paths, anything you guys or gals have questions on, so we can help. And it's useful because I'm a little more US centric in the sense of I understand the stuff a little bit more here, and Nabil is a little bit more, he's in UAE, so he has a little bit more of an international perspective than I do. So it's nice, a nice combination between the two of us. Usually we can have somewhat knowledgeable answer for all of you. So appreciate you all joining. So just to start out, does anybody have specific questions around the internship? I know we had some changes over the last few weeks. We've switched people from Hubstaff over to Clockify. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the Hubstaff, that's fine. It's probably because you just joined recently. Don't worry. Clockify is all you need to know. But I know there was a little bit of confusion around that. It was just, switching, going from one platform to another, and then specifically, focusing less on activity and more on just the output that everyone was putting out, rather than just like hours and stuff like that. So that's been the major changes. Are there any questions around that? We have a hand up. Jana.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Mr. Patrick.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm just want to ask, I put in my Google form that I'm gonna start at 6/6.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I should start my assignments and my tasks on 6/6, right?
Correct.
Because I opened the general of Slack and I saw everything, but I was a little bit confused, So this is my first question.
You start June 6th. What I would suggest is in the Slack group, there's a section on how to get started, a guide right there.
Yeah.
I'd click on that and just read through that carefully. And there's videos to help guide you through in terms of how to start, and other stuff. And if you have additional questions, once you kind of review that, definitely reach out to us and we'll try to address them and make it more clear.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Welcome. Sohan, you have a question?
Yeah, hi Patrick.
Hi.
I was going to ask that we have to write 21 articles, right? So it's a 12-week internship, and the timings are flexible. So like if we can write one article in 1 week, we can write 4 articles in the next.
Correct.
So it works like that.
Yeah, I think it's fine. If there's some flexibility, I'd warn though that if you're not putting, the 15 hours per week, I mean, Nabil, if you have a strong opinion on this, but if you're not putting the 15 hours per week, it starts building fast. If you try to save it for the last few weeks, it's pretty tough to do it all at once. So I wouldn't suggest kind of waiting 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and then trying to put it all in the back half, because it's going to be pretty tough to do it successfully.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Nabil, do you agree or no?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, better to spread out, from the start. But then it's like, like college, right? Like people tend to push everything to the end and try to get stuff done. Better to avoid it.
Or you could get through it faster.
Yeah, that's another way to go.
Get through it faster, get all the courses, and then actually have time to study them during the summer, and then put that on your resume, which would look even better. Ibrahim, how could I answer you? You have a question?
Hello, Patrick. Hello,
Hi.
Nabil. I hope you're doing well. I was just researching a couple of topics that I wanted to pursue as an article, but unfortunately, my grandfather passed away 2 days ago, and I was occupied with everything regarding the death and attending my family. So in the last couple of days, I wasn't able to give put a lot of effort in my research and my writings. I just wanted to notify you about that. And I wanted to ask you if we can find any published articles, just as to take feedback on what to write, what image types, because I watched the videos and I saw the guidelines. I just want to see a clear view on how to continue.
I'm not sure I follow. I think you're asking, are there more specific examples of how to continue writing?
An example of a published article that you want us to publish at the exact same type and way.
I think Josh is usually posting articles that are going live into the chat. So if you look up at the history of the chat, you'll probably see some saying, hey, thanks to XYZ intern who helped us get this live. And so you can click through to there. Otherwise, you can look in the sheet. There's specific links to articles that are marked as final, done live. You could always look through there and get a sense of what a final article looks like. That's usually helpful. Then you can get a sense of the quality of the writing, the sections, how we're doing bullet points, how we're trying to break it up and make it readable for the readers and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you so much for your help.
You're welcome. Christian, you have your hand up.
Yes, good morning, Patrick.
Good morning.
I had a good question regarding recruiting cycles. So I'm a bit in a dilemma. I'm just 1 year from graduating, and I have the choice to 1 year, but however, I have just one term, a 4-month term for doing electives, and I was wondering what's the best time to look for jobs? Would it be best for find jobs in the recruiting cycle from September to December, or from January to April, taking into consideration that I would like to mostly find a job related to, in the investment management industry mostly.
And where are you located again? Remind me.
I'm in Vancouver, Canada. Yeah.
If you only have 1 year left, 1 year left coming up, is basically your last year. I'd be looking through starting now in terms of interviewing for that, because there are people who will be doing internships this summer that are getting full-time offers for graduating. So I think what you should be doing is don't worry so much about the exact timing of when is more advantageous. But I'd say earlier is always better to start, getting yourself into the interview process. So just so you can have reps in terms of getting better at interviewing, telling your story, both on the behavioral and the technical stuff, I think is going to make you a better candidate. So you shouldn't, you're close enough now to graduating where you should be interviewing for full-time positions right away when you go back to school.
Right. Because just a very quick context. Well, I am actually starting a master's in management, the 6 months program on June of next year. So I have
that changes things
from September to June exactly. I have that like 8 months.
So it's a master's September to June.
Yeah. So I'm technically getting my undergrad in economics on May 2023.
Why are you doing that master's in management?
It was initially because I wasn't that sure of what I really wanted to do. So I was just like, okay.
How much is that costing you? How much is that?
Just a few $1,000s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not like an MBA, thankfully. Not.
I was going to say if you're spending $50,000 Canadian on that, I would try to talk you.
Oh no way. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, no, that's not actually a bad place to hang out. Is getting a degree if it's low cost. It allows you a little bit longer time to not look unemployed, and get another crack at getting into recruiting cycles, like you said. But like much more important than how well you do there, I think is going to be how well you're networking starting this summer. And who you're talking to, and just getting more specific about the type of fund you want to work for, or the type of investment management you want to work for. So like, is it within an investment bank? Is it a standalone company? Is it, asset management? What specific types of assets are you talking? Stock, equity, bonds, options? What do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Getting a little bit understanding about that, or even if you're not really sure, being well versed in those different options, so that when you're going into the interviews for a specific type of fund, you can at least make it look like you're more interested in that type of asset class.
You're right. And in the more practical sense of like what's the most common recruiting cycle for investment firms or traditional funds? Based on your experience, when do you see it's most, like, apart from summer, what are the most common seasons for?
I think for investment management, it's a little bit more. If you're talking like small hedge funds, it's totally random. It's whenever they need to fill it. If you're talking like larger, like institutional Fidelity, like large asset managers, large investment managers, where they typically have like these programs they put people through, with like they're hiring so many thousands of people every year that it's like they have like start dates like every month. So it just depends what specific types of programs you are, but I would focus less on like when's the best time, because it doesn't matter when the best time is. Like you should be like trying to get into interviews now, because you're done in a year.
Right. So even if I don't accept something, like just as a practice.
Yeah, huge. That practice is so valuable.
Okay.
So valuable. Like interview for anything and everything, even if you have no interest. Like even things that aren't exactly related to investment management, if you can get an interview just to talk about yourself and talk about your story, because all it is selling yourself. So getting good at selling yourself is a skill in and of itself. Right. And so like you need to practice that live in a real setting, even if it's not as stressful because you don't really want it. It'll make you better in the third, fourth, fifth interview you have. And then when you do have that one that you really want, you're going to be much more polished and more confident going into.
Right. Certainly. Well, thanks, Patrick.
Yeah. So I would just say, don't focus on, I would say start as soon as you can. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to send your application everywhere, but it does mean you should be talking to people within the types of funds and types of firms you want to be working at now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I know it seems like a long time away, but the more prepared you are and the more people you know within the companies that you're trying to get into, the more you're going to hear about openings in the fall, in the winter.
Right. Oh yeah, that makes total sense. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, they may not even market the open jobs, so that's why talking is so important. So let's see, who else? Pranay.
Yeah, Patrick. Thanks for the invite. Actually, I have a little different profile than the usual ones. I already have a working experience of 8 to 9 years, but I have been working as a engineering consultant, not as any financial institute or something. But I do want to switch my career, and along with that, I just attempted my CFA level 3, and I'm hoping to clear. So hopefully within 2 months I will have my CFA level 3 as well. I just wanted to discuss with you what is the best possible way where I can see my transition from engineering stream to a investment banking stream.
Nabil, you want to take this one specifically about CFA, since we're talking CFA level 3? I know it's more investment banking, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said last call, like I just met someone who's done engineering and then he did CFA and then he moved to investment banking as an associate. But then that's because he's in UAE. Like I think if you're in like US, it's very defined. But if you come out like international, like the CFA might help if you can demonstrate knowledge, because engineering people are generally looked up to because well, they're generally considered to be like good with numbers and all of that stuff. So if you can somehow demonstrate that with your CFA and like apply it to finance, like a lot of doors open. Like if it's IB, then yeah, chances are a little lower. But then if you go into asset management and all of that stuff, like yeah, you could try for those ones. By the way, where are you based again?
Right now, I'm in India, but few months back, I was in UAE only.
Oh, okay. Yeah, UAE, you would have chances. I mean, IB recruiting is still up. PE is down, yeah, because of the impending economic situation. But yeah, yeah, go about it. Like just they don't really care what your undergrad is if you can demonstrate that you actually know finance and if you work somewhere and the typical usual stuff, right? Go to an interview, leave a good impression, network, meet people. Yeah.
To be really honest, I've been to interviews and I've been good at my interviews. They all say either two things. One, that I don't have a previous experience, which I say I know, and that's why I want to start. And the second thing they say is that if we hire you, you will leave us very soon. And I tried everything to tell them that no, I will not leave, but they are not. Like, it's a chicken and egg situation right now for me, and I just want to get out of this situation.
Well, this internship will actually help. I think it'll help. I think it'll help show a little more. It'll just make you want to on your resume. You should probably get a resume review, to be honest. If somebody who's gone from engineering to finance, you need to downplay your engineering as much as possible on there, and like just scream finance as much as possible. So like you should be featuring the financial modeling you're studying, this internship, any other finance related associations you're part of, the CFA. Like it should just be screaming, I want finance there. So there's less concern about that. Why are they saying you're going to leave?
Because of the recession between 2000, because I started my career from UAE only, and oil has a recession between 2014 to 18. So I switched many jobs because of the recession. But they consider as if I am not a long time player. I try to tell them that it's not because of that; it's because of the market situation which I had during those times.
Yeah, that's
really hard.
Yeah, I mean, people are just gonna assume that you're gonna.
What's your longest tenure at a company?
2.5 years.
And when was that, at the beginning?
No, just the last one.
Then, I mean, I would almost, one way you can kind of get around that. Are there any like similar companies that when you had to jump, like because of economic stuff, are there any companies where you're doing similar roles?
Almost in all the company, I was doing similar roles with the previously.
Somewhat investing?
Similar role in the sense, all my companies before this, I am involved in the engineering side only.
Yeah, so like you could have one job, one entry for all your engineering roles from 2014 to 18.
Okay.
And say worked at several middle market engineering businesses. This is why you need a resume review, because you need and your LinkedIn needs to be reviewed too. You need somebody to make it. That's great feedback. They told you we think you're going to leave, because you need, that's like something that you should be able to get across, that like this is something you really, really want, and you understand that it's going to be 80, 100-hour weeks, blah, blah, blah. You're ready to put in the work. You're not going to leave. This is where you want to build a career. And like, so that should come across, if you know that's like a thing. But then more importantly, you're probably not getting as many interviews, because if they're picking that out from your resume or from your background, you should really try to like consolidate the number of companies into like almost like a generic entry on your engineering jobs, and be like, worked at maybe don't mention the 3 or 4, maybe just mention 2, 2014 to this, and then kind of highlight, worked at this during, primarily in these things. So you have like 4 bullets there under like those 4 years. That's it. And you're really featuring these last 2.5 years and the CFA and the financial modeling training and kind of honing on that. I think that might help you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, but you need to come across if that's the feedback. Sorry, the first feedback was you may leave us. The second feedback was what?
That I don't have working experience in investment banking.
Or are you applying for associate roles or analyst roles?
To be really honest, I'm okay with the analyst role as well. I just want a fair opportunity to grow to associate, not like a traditional way, in a fast-track way.
Oh, wait, you don't want to grow the traditional way?
Like traditional way in the sense, like my expectation is they should consider at least like a few years of my experience out of that. But
if that's coming across, they don't care. They're not going to hire you. That's why you're a flight risk, because you're putting that, you're somehow conveying that in the interview, or somehow conveying that in your letters. Like, they don't care about your engineering background. Like, they like it because it shows like rigor, but they're going to want to pay you as little as they can. They're going to work you as little as they can and squeeze as much value out of you as they can as you're coming across. And you have to be willing to get your foot in the door. You have to be willing, and you should be willing to take a first-year analyst job, because guess what's going to happen? You are going to outperform, do really well, assuming you like it, and you're going to get that associate promote really fast. But it shouldn't be something you convey in the interview.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's hurting you, honestly. So I would change that. They want the humble, hungry.
Okay.
That's it. That's what they want.
Actually, they compare my current CTC with the CTC that they are offering, and they think that it's very low. Then definitely this person will not stay, and he will definitely go.
The compensation? You mean the compensation?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can say, look, I don't mind taking a pay cut because I understand this is where I want to be long term. I think it is a concern for them, and that's why as you get older, it's harder to get in. You become much more siloed. 8 years, and they kind of start looking at you and be like, well, what's taking you so long to get over here? But I think you just need to offset those concerns with a desire to say, like, I'm willing to start from the bottom. I understand the pay cut. Like, showing that doesn't, then once you get in there, you have the job, you have it on your CV. And then in a couple of years, if they're not promoting you to associate or senior associate or what have you, then it's so much easier to lateral. You have it on your resume with deal experience. You just got to get your foot in the door initially, or else.
Yeah, I'm just trying for that only. Very hard. Just get my first time.
It is very hard. Good luck.
Yes.
Hopefully this internship helps open more doors, more interviews.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's the whole this thing.
Take a look at the in the Slack group. There's an example of how to show this on your resume, on your CV.
Sure. Okay.
And make sure I hope your CV is 1 page.
Yeah, it's 1 page.
Good. Okay. Hari.
Yes, sir. Hello, Patrick, Neville, and all other friends. So what I'm trying to know, is this the right place for me or not? Because my scenario is different. So I am 50 years old, and I recently completed my MBA in December last 6 months before.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to be learn more, financial, matters. Like, I want to be a financial analyst, and I've been looking to know more about the financial modeling, valuation, like that. So I've been, visiting your site many times, and I don't know at this point, because I used to be an accountant for the non-profit, organization for the long time, more or less 12 years. And then since I moved in the US, I'm struggling to find a job. That was the reason I went to the college and get the degree, and still I'm,
Where did you get your MBA from?
Here in the US.
Where?
West Texas A&M.
Okay.
Here in the Texas.
Yeah. So and you want to do some sort of financial analyst type work.
Yes, sir.
So that's super big. So that's your first problem. It's just big. And like, until you kind of hone down on more specifically what you want, it's going to be very hard to get what you want. Yeah. And so like, it's hard. I think if you're reading a lot and your background, you did have some accounting work in the previous experience. That's good. What else have you been doing in your career?
At this point, I'm working as an insurance agent, and I've been went through a lot of interviews. And for the accounting role, they said, you have a gap. So the most of the clients, they're looking, who are working right now. So you have a gap, so we cannot hire you. And some of, the...
Why do you have a gap? Well, that's the red flag, right? Why do you have the gap?
Because I moved in the US. I'm not from the US, right? Originally. And I moved in the US, and I was trying to find the, similar field to work. And, I didn't get the chance, at the first, right? And now I went to the back into the college, and get the degree. But still I'm trying to, go to the accounting sector, but they don't want it, I don't know. They said, most of the, the organization, they said you have a gap. And the last couple of months, I've been interviewing in government and non-government organization, and most of the questions behavioral, not the technical. And at the same time, they are looking for the technical, skills like financial modeling, ERP export, like Power, a lot of things, So at the same time, I have to develop myself, all those areas.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to get an idea, from advice from you. So it is a right place.
My advice to you is, I don't know your financial situation. I don't know your life situation. So like, are you desperate for a job, like where you have to have a job, or can you invest in yourself into those skills? And then, because like, it's very different if you're like, I need a job now. Like I had a mentee who was working 3 jobs, all paying him like $14, $10 an hour. Working 70, 80 hours a week. And he just couldn't, he had a couple kids. He couldn't get himself out of that spin. I'm like, why? I'm like, what are you doing? You're a Georgetown grad. I'm like, go get a job at Fidelity, even if you don't want to be there long-term. And sure enough, he did that just through a little bit of networking. And once he had that, suddenly he has one job working 50-ish hours a week. And then he has 20 hours a week to work on himself. And so I think it's helpful, like, an MBA from a non-target school isn't necessarily going to help you break into like any sort of high finance role. It's good to show the degree. It's good to show all that stuff. But I think, one of the warnings I'd say to all the interns here is, make sure you know what the degree is for, and specifically what the placement stats are from whatever school you're going to. For you, Hari, it depends. Like if you really need the money and you really like, I would be, you're kind of in a tough position because you have some of the accounting background, but like you want a financial analyst role, but you have never held those roles. So you have to like really just network and get somebody to give you a chance. But it's hard without those hard skills. Now, if you start doing the financial modeling, the valuation training, you market yourself well and you interview well, then you can maybe start breaking in at a level. But you also have ageism working against you. People are going to be discriminate against you for a couple of things, for your accent here in the US, and then also for the fact that you're older. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like you have a lot going against you. So I'd say like you need to be more focused in terms of like what specific types of jobs you want, and then get the skills exactly needed to perform in that role. And then network and become really good at just talking to people and asking questions and explaining kind of what you've been up to. So you're right now graduated without a job from your MBA.
Yes.
Yes, it's really tough. And now that gap is what's killing you now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so because, I don't have any experience, in the accounting sector or either in the financial, analyst roles right here in the US. So that was the reason, they don't want to have that.
Did you have interviews while you were in your MBA?
Yeah, so after that interview, I had several interviews, JP Morgan and the city of Houston, and I have several interviews still now going on the federal job.
And you didn't, did they give you any feedback?
Nobody give me any feedback. Some of this saying, you have a gap. Oh, this is you have a gap. So let's say, for example, City of Houston. So I learned the SAP right program. I know how to run, but I don't have a practical experience. I didn't apply it, while I was working, I'm working like that. So the head of the finance, she said, okay, so I was thinking, so you can run, efficiently SAP, but you just learn, but you don't have a practical experience. And later on, they said, okay, we will inform you once you select, right? But they have not yet recruited anyone. My status is showing progress. It's been a month, but I'm not getting back from them.
Yeah, you shouldn't depend on that. Yeah, you shouldn't depend on that. I think you just got to do what I said in terms of like being more focused and targeted and trying to develop the skills you need. But you're up against so many things right now. The gap is hurting you.
And the
age, the accent. It's
accent,
yeah. Like if you have to client facing, if you're having to be client facing, some people are going to be like, no, we can't put you there. So you need I think there's no easy answer here. And I think if you want to send me your resume over email, more detail, I can take a look, and I'll try to give you some quick feedback there or point you in the right direction. But I think I want to give some other people some time here too. So I got to jump in half hour. So,
okay.
But yeah, send me your resume, patrick@wallstreetoasis.com.
Okay. So what about this internship? Is that something I can continue?
Yeah, you can continue it. I think it will help you show more finance oriented stuff and develop skills. But I think more importantly, you got to figure out what skills can you develop here that'll map to a specific job opening, or like they won't care about the age and everything else.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. Yeah, guys, I don't sugarcoat it. I won't sugarcoat it. I'll tell you do it straight. If things, I think things are hard sometimes. And unfortunately, sometimes we use degrees, or you're moving to a new country or something, and it's super hard. Mazin says this happens in UAE. Market isn't stable. You have to keep working for a visa. Here we go. I can't read all the names here. One sec. Let me change my view. Is it Abhijit?
Yes, sir.
Hey, what's your question?
Okay, so hello, Patrick and everyone. So I started the internship about a week ago, and I'm not exactly from a finance background. So I'm doing masters in physics, and I kind of want to leverage myself to the finance world. So first thing was, how do I get, like, my ideal industry is basically hedge funds. So when I looked at hedge funds, they don't exactly share their contacts or anything. So how do I network myself to hedge funds? And the second is, I ideally want to work into USA. And when I apply for jobs in USA, they ask for work authorizations. And I don't exactly have work authorization. So how do I get around that?
So first question, great questions, by the way. Thanks for asking them. So first question is specifically around networking with hedge fund professionals. So I would look for, you can use the company database on Wall Street Oasis to look at specific, get a list of hedge funds right there. So if you go to Wall Street Oasis /company, filter by hedge funds, there's a list right there. You can have that right off the bat. Then once you go from there, there's actually naming or email conventions that are in those. You can use LinkedIn, or you can even start trying to send out emails, cold emails. A lot of them will bounce back at you, but you can use a tool like hunter.io and just start trying to talk to people. But I think the bigger concern here is your desire to be in the US. Probably the hardest part to get a work authorization and visa. I was talking to Nabil about this, and he's in UAE, and I'm like, you probably want to go to London if you want to be in finance. It's much easier, or even Canada to get in. So like, I think that's a much, much harder path. And I think what you should watch is we have an international visa course that we can get you access to. You should watch those discussions and see what people suggest on how to do it. There are ways to get it, but a lot of times it's lottery. And what year are you in school? You look young.
I'm right now like my course is kind of integrated masters and bachelors. So
Okay.
I'm in my third year.
Third year.
So
Okay.
I'll finish in fifth year, about like 3 years.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, now it's a good time to having those discussions. Is there a specific reason why you want to be in the US?
Not particularly. I just fantasize with.
Yeah. I don't know, Nabil, any suggestions, any thoughts that I'm not providing?
Going to the US?
No, I'm just like specifically like his situation. He's a physics major.
Physics major and hedge funds is pretty good, yeah. Because I mean, especially on trades and stuff, like if you can model well, look for those patterns and all of that stuff. Because I think there's a lot of like Brownian motion and all those kinds of like very theoretical stuff that comes in at certain funds.
Yeah,
I mean,
the top ones like funds, D.E. Shaw, Citadel. Yeah, like you should be looking at. There's a filter on the company database called prop trading firms. So Jane Street, New York One, all those. Some of them have gone under, but a lot of them are in Chicago. Maybe you want to get to Chicago. So yeah, I think the networking part is almost easier than the visa work authorization part. The other thing you could think about doing is getting a job specifically at another quant shop that is somewhere easier to get a.
That's what I was thinking. I could do summer internships in maybe just another countries or something.
Yes.
Maybe I could leverage that.
Yeah, once you leverage that, especially if you show some of the work you've done, proprietary work, and like, oh, I built this model, I did this regression, I did this, back tested this. And I'm not an expert in quant funds, but I think trying to talk and find mentors that specifically have a similar background to you with maybe a physics background that are now at those funds and getting on the phone with them and asking them like, what would you guys need to see to hire somebody like me besides all the mental math and all the crazy, obviously off the charts intelligence? What would you need to see? And so I think that's going to give you a much better insight than myself personally, is trying to talk to somebody on the inside there that's at those funds. They're not going to share everything, but they'll probably, if they feel like you're a younger version of themselves, they may share some insight. That would be really helpful. Have you done any networking or reached out to people?
Not particularly.
Yeah. Are you using LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd start like today or tomorrow, just connecting with anybody and everybody at all these quant funds.
Yeah, will do. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Even if only 10% accept it, maybe 10% of that 10% will get on the phone with you, and maybe one of those calls will lead you in the right direction.
Hopefully.
Yeah. But you got to shoot your shot though, right? If you're not shooting at all and just saying, oh, I don't know how to do it, you're not going to get anywhere. You need to get on the phone with some people who know the inside, and that's not me, unfortunately. Yeah. That place is very much a black box. What goes on in there?
Still helps a lot. I start just randomly cold messages. Okay, thank you. Bye.
No worries. Let's see. Brandon, what's going on?
Oh, nothing much. There was something that you mentioned earlier that kind of made me want to ask a question.
Sure.
For those of us who are, a little bit older, like I'm not 22 anymore, but I'm still in my 20s and everything. But for those of us who are a little bit older, what is like a way to kind of get around that sort of objection of like, oh, you're older, like how are you going to work under, like, let's say, associate who's like the same age as you or you're younger?
Just coming across really humble, number one, and not like, I think if you're lucky enough to get actually them to state something like that, like a concern like that.
Is there a way to preemptively? Well, yeah. So I was in this coffee chat with someone the other day, and it wasn't directed at me, but he was like 24, and he was saying that he had to hire like an accountant for, it's like a private equity shop that he worked for. He had to hire an accountant for this company that they had just bought into, and he was worried about like they needed someone with 10 years experience, but he was like 24, and he was sort of just openly addressing that he had this concern to me, which is kind of funny. But the thought kind of occurred to me that, yeah, this will be like an issue, and if there's any way to kind of get ahead of it by prior.
I think it's tough because if you bring it up, then it's almost like, hey, this could be, you're flagging a problem that doesn't necessarily, if they don't have that thought.
Yeah, it's not like I'm putting it on my resume, obviously. But
yeah, but I if they do it, if you're lucky enough for them to bring up the concern, and this is why, like at the end of an interview, it's a little bit of a bold move, but the end of the interview, I sometimes would say something like, I just want to reiterate, I'm really excited about this position. If there are any concerns about my candidacy, I'd love to hear them and to be able to address them, because it is something that's, this is exactly where I want to be. And I can assure you that I'd work very hard. And just delivering something like that really confidently directly to them will sometimes and they say, well, actually, one of our concerns is this, and then boom, you can address it. Like, well, actually, I've worked, I've very much deferred to people much younger than me. When I was a junior in this club and there was a freshman, the freshman was doing this and I did it. And like, I have no problem doing that at all. Like I respect everyone. Age doesn't really matter to me. It's about, the skills and the hard work you put in and blah, blah. And then you can give them that. And then that way so you can't, I'd rather you not say in an interview, hey, and I know I'm a little older, but then it looks bad. But yeah, I think more kind of opening it up for them to share their concerns, and then you being able to address them with a story that completely mitigates it. I think it's a better strategy.
So you're just gonna kind of hope that they come out with it if it's a concern for them. Otherwise, it's just kind of
hope, but also kind of prod for concerns.
Sure. Yeah.
For and if they say nothing, I think just showing that you're really hungry for the position, and that you want it and you're going to work hard, I think it goes a long way. Being too cool in the interview, it's bad news. You don't want to seem desperate and like, I'll do anything for this job and go crazy like that, because it is like kind of weird. But showing that you really want it and that you're serious and you understand what the job exactly is like half the battle. For these entry level roles, especially, it's like half the battle, or 90% of the battle. People think, I need to memorize all the technicals and get all the technicals right. Well, no, it's usually mostly about attitude and behaviorals and showing that you really want it and you understand the job.
Yeah, I did get told that before, that I was addressing too many of the technicals in the interview and they just wanted to get to know me, which was kind of a good comment, I guess.
Yeah, great feedback. Thanks for the question. Who have I not called on? Alvin.
Yeah,
the wolf is back. The wolf's back. This thing always scares me.
After 2 weeks, yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm just doing some work for WSO right now. So I have 2 questions. So my first question is related to the internship. So I just wanted to clarify. So now, since we are using Clockify and like we need to complete the 3 articles like in 25 hours. So I just wanted to know, like, is it like I need to finish the 25 articles in like a specific time frame? Like I started the internship in May. So right now I'm done.
For people who started before, it starts like however many hours you have left. That applies for whatever you have left. We're not going to make you retroactively go back.
Okay, so like right now I completed around 4 articles, so I'm left with 17. So is it like I need to finish the 17 remaining articles by a specific date, or?
No, it's more like how many hours have you put in, and then however many hours are left, you need to put in that many. So like it may be less than 21 for you if you had already written like 4 super long articles, for example. And you can, it's more based on the number of hours you have left and then calculating the number of articles you should be able to complete in that time.
All right. So even if, let's say, in a specific week, I'm not able to commit, like I have some other commitments. So it's fine if I'm able to still complete the remaining articles, let's say August or even September, right?
I'm trying to think. I think there's a cap of 14 weeks on it, Nabil. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think we do put a cap of 14 weeks on it just so it doesn't drag out and it's like a 2-hour thing, because otherwise it just ties up our resources in terms of trying to review things and making sure we know how many people are going through it. So I think we do have, if you started in May, if you need like a couple weeks off or there's something that's come up, that's a different story. But stretching out, doing it just a few hours a week and stretching it over like 5-6 months, I don't think is ideal for us or for anybody.
So like maybe around end of July or start of August, I might be a good time to complete all the 21 articles.
Yeah, and again, I don't think you're going to have to do 21 because if you put in a lot of hours. I think it would be less than that, depending on how many hours you did with the initial 4.
Okay.
And so you can ask Nabil that. We can look at your past, the history prior, and get you a more firm number on that.
And my second question is related to like working in the UAE. So as for me, I'll be graduating in Australia. So I know some friends who are older than me. Once they graduated, they went to work in the UAE. So I wanted to know, is it like better to work in Australia for 1 or 2 years and then apply for a job in the UAE, or as soon as I graduate in Australia, I can apply for a finance job in UAE? Like, what would you recommend?
I'm leaving this one to Nabil.
No, honestly, it depends. Like, what do you want to, like, what's the purpose? Like, if you just want if you just want money, like, yeah, you could come here and like do it because it's tax free and all that. But like a lot of people also go the other way, right? Like, because this place doesn't give you citizenship, people travel to other places, get the citizenship, then come back. So like people go to Canada, they go to Australia, get like do 5 years, whatever, and then come back for the tax benefit, basically. So it depends on what you're looking for, honestly. If you did graduate in Australia, there should not be a problem getting a job. Again, like it's just networking and stuff, the usual stuff. People come back, they just apply on LinkedIn and then they go back because it's very competitive that way. It's people like you'll have thousands of applications for a job and no one really looks at them. So if you do networking and like, stay here for a bit, maybe a couple months, you should get a job. And I'm sure you'd have alumni here, so you could reach out to them and all that stuff. But again, it depends on what you want from the job. So what is it that you're looking for?
So for me personally, just like experience, and also maybe later to settle there, like in UAE, because I'm originally.
Yeah. Then you could move. Move to the UAE.
Okay, so like let's say I'm graduating next year, so I can apply directly in the UAE.
Yeah, you could, but I'd probably suggest going through channels like LinkedIn or emails and getting like on phone calls or Skype, just because no one's going to look at your application on wherever you apply, like LinkedIn or wherever.
That's globally.
Yeah.
Everyone in this intern chat, stop dropping your resume on online portals, hoping that you'll get picked.
Exactly.
Very rare. Even the people with the top resumes from the top schools in the world, it's like a 5% response rate. And that's people with like a 3.8 to 4.0 GPA or like a perfect, high honors scores, whatever they call in the UK, double A's or whatever. That's the highest from the top schools in the world. They're getting like a 5 to 10% response rate. So imagine if you're not from one of those specific schools or whatnot, and you're dropping this, you're just going to have like a 0.3% response rate. So you have to apply like 1,000 places to get one interview or even one response. So it's really silly to spend your time doing that, making yourself feel good, like you're working so hard and staying so busy because you applied to 100 places online. No, take your time and talk to people and then apply. And it's so much more effective with the time you have, the limited time you have, because a lot of you guys are still in school or trying to work. So yeah, sorry, Nabil, for that tangent, but it's the same as everywhere.
That's perfect. Yeah. That's good
It's
advice.
who you know, it's who you know.
Exactly.
Let's see. I'm gonna butcher your name, but is it Nahino Lawa? Or Nino Lawa?
Yes, it is. Hi, Patrick.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I have a few questions, but firstly, I would like to start with the last point you raised with the last person that spoke. You talked about talking to people and not just sending applications, like talking to people before sending out applications.
Mm-hmm.
That's more effective. Were you talking about like chatting people up on LinkedIn, like your connections on LinkedIn?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, trying to get on phone calls and Zoom calls where you're actually showing your face and you're talking and you're developing some sort of relationship and understand and asking them about their specific role, trying to understand more. So then they suddenly then there's like a personal connection with them. There's a personal like investment that they feel towards like making sure you do well. And the way you do that is like, everyone should read that book. What's that book, Nabil, about friends and influencing people? Best friend. What's it called?
Oh yeah, how to make friends and influence people, I guess.
Yes. So like that, like if you learn those skills in that book and just talk about them the whole time, and ask interesting questions and show that you're listening, you're going to get a lot of people that like you, and you're going to get people who are going to want to help you. And then that's what's opening. That's going to open so many more doors than dropping your resume everywhere.
Okay. Well, it's not exactly dropping resumes everywhere. It's just applying to openings.
No, and you can still do that. My point is that your time is better spent doing phone calls face to face. My point is like 20 minutes spent with a phone call with somebody that works at a firm you potentially want to be at someday, or that is in a role that's similar to where you want to be. Those 20 minutes with that one person is about 100 times more valuable than the 20 minutes you put in applying to 10 roles or 5 roles, whatever.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's much more valuable. Even though it's more painful and it's more nerve-wracking, it's more nervous, it's not as comfortable.
Yeah.
The people who are willing to do that and get on the phone and make those personal connections, and guess what? Like, it'll be awkward the first few times you do it. It'll be awkward. It's awkward. It's weird. It's like, and that's why, but it also gets you better at interviewing too.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like you're developing multiple skills in terms of how to talk with people, how to feel comfortable on a Zoom chat, how to, you're developing a lot more important skills than just trying to look good on a piece of paper and sending it out and hoping,
Yeah.
But yeah. I know it's hard. I know it's hard, but I really encourage everybody here to just try it. And you can do that by basically just sending connection requests to people who are in the roles that you want to be in. Just start doing that, and it can be a short little intro. Hi, my name is
So I already started doing that, but sometimes you don't get responses back.
Oh, most of the time, yeah. I'd assume probably 10% of the people that you send that to are going to 10% of the people that are doing that are probably going to respond. I'd say on your LinkedIn, I'm looking at your LinkedIn right now. I'd say for that, I'd say get you look professional, but clean up the background, have a bigger smile.
Okay.
Look happier. You look happy, but it's a little bit like a smirk. Look happier. Be like, not like crazy, like, but like, you know what I mean? Just to make yourself look really approachable and like friendly.
Okay.
Because when you send out stuff, and then in terms of how you're reaching out on the cold emails, when you hit a connection request to somebody, it shouldn't don't just let it be the generic thing that LinkedIn throws in.
Yeah, I send personal notes.
Perfect. And so what percentage of people are you? I see you have over 500 connections. It's better than most people on here.
Yeah.
Good. So you're doing some of this. Did you just start doing this?
So I just started doing it. I used to do it in the past, but then I stopped after it reduced, but then I picked it up again and started doing that recently.
I think one of your struggles are going to be like your the gap. So you stopped working in February 2022?
That's because I'm studying in the UK now for my master's.
You did? Okay, so that's good. So you don't have a gap.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my next question is, you talked about a one-page CV to someone earlier. I currently have like a 3-page CV. I think that partly because of the template I use, although they're mostly relevant things that are there. So I don't know what the ideal.
You don't know what to cut. Yeah, so it's a great question. Why is a one-page CV important? Well, I think most people don't want to look through a 3-page CV. So the CV isn't about including everything that you've done or every accomplishment you've done. It's not a running list it's not like a research CV or an instructor CV where you're showing all your publications or even a medical CV. A CV in finance is really just like, here are the highlights. Here are the skills I have. Here are the schools I went to. Here's a little bit about me to get them interested to want more. So think of like the CV more as a billboard, and less of a rundown of your whole bio. And the billboard, if you had a billboard and people were driving along the street and only had 10 seconds to look at it, if your font was 10-point font on a billboard that's 1,000 feet away, they're not going to even read it. They're not going to be able to read it. So having too much is actually very detrimental to how good your CV converts into interviews.
Okay.
So I'd really suggest, I mean, it depends a little bit on what you're going for. Some finance positions are a little more open to maybe a 2-page, or let's say you're like a vice president and you do have a long deal sheet. Sometimes there'll be the 1 page and then there'll be like a transaction experience on a 2nd page. Or if like you're a managing director, that makes sense. But usually from the associate level down, it's almost always better to have 1 page.
1 page. Okay.
Yeah, and I'd highly suggest, I'll put in the chat right now. If you're looking for a template, we have a WSO resume template that we use for our resume review clients. It's free. I'll send that through here. Resources. Let's see. Investment banking resume template. Copy link. I'll drop it here in the chat for everybody. So you can grab that there. That's a pretty space efficient template. So it's still going to be hard to cut from 3 to 1.
Okay.
But if you're applying to finance roles, I mean, how many jobs did you have prior? Let's see. Accountant for 3 years. So like, the account executive role isn't, the lean transport solutions is short. Account executive role is not as relevant. I'd have more the financial accountant and the investment analyst group.
Okay.
Be the biggest. You're going to get questions of like, why did you only stay for 9 months? You went to go get your master's, but why go start at Avuna?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Now you're going to get questions around how that stint is a little bit shorter at Avuna.
Wow.
And you're going to get questions probably around why is there a gap from Bulbas to Avuna?
Okay. So I need to start preparing to.
Yeah. So there may be, and I don't know what the answer is to that, but I don't know if you can make it more general, or maybe Bulbas is okay saying you stopped in March instead of February, and maybe.
So I actually wanted to change, like to switch into finance. I got tired of the accounting thing, and I actually resigned without another job at hand. So eventually I got that one at Avuna.
That's bold of you, but it's dangerous because then it leaves that gap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So usually I say apply to the roles you want. Make sure you have something else that's better prior to leaving your current role. Because it's much easier to find a job when you have a job.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But yeah, I would look at revamping your resume. I'd look at trying to get more on the phone with people. Are you looking to do like hedge fund type stuff or investment management?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you have some good bullets here. The only thing I'd say, looking at your bullets for Avuna, they're all good, but they're not great bullets. You're not quantifying anything here. You're just saying what you did, but you're not saying what the results were.
Okay.
Okay, so look into that too. See if you can make it a little bit more tangible by giving me numbers. I always say put as many numbers on your resume as you can, even if it's like people are like presented to clients. How many clients? Presented to 7 clients. Okay, what types of clients? Presented to 7 Fortune 500 clients. It just gives you a lot more, meat on the bone in terms of making the bullets much more relevant. Unfortunately, I have to end this because I have a call in 1 minute. I just realized.
Thank you very much.
But thanks to everybody. Hopefully this was helpful for everybody. I think there's probably parallels for what everyone's dealing with. So always feel free to use the chat too. We have open in Slack, and we'll do this again next week. And if I didn't get to you, I apologize. I'll try to get to you next week. And you could say in the chat, you didn't get to me last week. Pick me first, and we'll try to do that. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yep.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
And thanks to you, my listeners at Wall Street Oasis. If you have any suggestions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to send them my way, Patrick@wallstreetoasis.com. Until next time.